Homeowners, when was the last time you checked on your home title? That's the legal record proving that you own your home. If your answer's never, then this is for you. Scammers, yeah, they're stealing titles and the equity in your home. That's their target. That's why I partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Anthony at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you'll get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
So speaking of New York and Mamdani, I had started the hour talking about Mamdani and his free buses and what a joke this is. It's like I said, the cornerstone of his platform. He brings it up every time. I saw the Forest Hills rally that he was having with AOC and Bernie. I tuned in for a couple of seconds during a break, and there were signs all over the place. Free fast busing, rent freezes, all these big signs with people cheering. And, you know, where's the money coming from? New York's broke. There are so many vacant storefronts in New York. People are leaving. But Mamdani's got away. $700 million he's going to raise to make buses free. And somehow that's going to generate $1.4 billion in revenue. I don't know. I don't know what kind of a abacus he's using to come up with that, but that's what he says, so it must be true. Just like his Islamic aunt who was in Tanzania during 9/11 but couldn't get on a subway without being bullied. But he tells the truth. So here he is during the debate. These mayoral debates were pretty entertaining. I think Curtis did a good job calling out Cuomo and Mamdani on things. When he talked about the subway, I think Curtis did a great job mentioning the horror of crime, the filth. And one of the biggest problems and reasons for that is that they are not enforcing the fares. There are a lot of bad people that are not paying to get down onto those subways just to do people harm and steal and cause problems. And then the moderator, who obviously could not stand Curtis, said, oh, well, what are you going to do? What's your plan then? And Curtis just looks and goes, I've been saying it. Enforce the fares. Make sure people are paying. Arrest people that aren't paying. And then have communities, have people go down there and sponsor some of these stations. Have people down there making sure, it's cleaned up and there are people. So it's not, you're not walking around down there alone and you're calling the cops when you see problems. And they're just like, oh, yeah. Meanwhile, that's a great idea. You enforce the fares, you're keeping 90% of the problems out of the subway. And now what he wants to do with the buses is get rid of the fares. As I've said many times, the only barrier between people using the buses for actual transportation and the people that will now be using it as homeless shelters and places to commit robbery and violence on people that are just trying to get from point A to point B. So this was during the debate, and Mamdani actually talks about the free buses costing $700 million. Listen to this.
First, I'll just say that one of the most celebrated leaders of the New York City Transit was Andy Byford, who had such a terrible experience working under Andrew Cuomo that he would rather work under Donald Trump right now.
Bomb.
The proposal that we have put forward addresses the fact that today, in the wealthiest city, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, 1 in 5 New Yorkers cannot afford the bus fare. It would cost $700 million a year to make the slowest buses in the country fast and free. And by doing so, we would generate more than double in economic revenue for New Yorkers across the city. It would be something that would reduce assaults on bus drivers, it would increase ridership on those buses, and it would actually have environmental impacts as fewer New Yorkers would drive their own car or take a taxi and would instead get on the bus. And I know all of this because I delivered it as a state assembly member who won the first free buses in New York City's history.
He says reduce violence against drivers by letting in mentally ill homeless people. Somehow a bus full of nuts is going to reduce the violence against the drivers. And I'll tell you where the violence against drivers comes from. It's the people that don't want to pay to get on the buses. They step up, the driver wants the fare, they say no, and they start beating up the driver because they don't want to pay the fare. Now, if you enforce the fares and you actually have cops that are allowed to do their job and arrest the people and prosecute them, then you whittle down on the violence against the drivers. Thinking that if you get people that won't pay and you ask them to pay and their answer is to beat up the driver, taking away the fare is not going to stop the violence. These people that are doing that, they love violence. And now you're putting them on a bus with people that want to go to work, want to come home from work, want to go somewhere on a weekend and can't afford it. And then you're 1 in 5 people, New Yorkers, 1 in 5 New Yorkers can't afford the bus. Are those 1 in 5 going to work? Because I have to imagine that 1 in 5 are on that bus and they don't have jobs. They can't afford the bus. But yeah, it's part of living in the city. And there are resources for people that are impoverished and they need to go to the doctor, or maybe they work for a couple of hours, whatever it is, but they fall into the category of impoverished. There are programs where you can get free MTA cards for transportation around the city. You don't make the entire bus free at the cost of $700 million to people that are actually working and paying taxes by raising their taxes, and then think it's going to generate $700 million more in revenue. You're going to pay the $700 million and get $700 million more back by making the buses free. I need to see that equation. I need to put that whole thing up on a blackboard. Let me see that formula. Because I don't think that's possible. But he thinks it is. He thinks fast. And how do you make buses faster? See, fast, free buses. I think it'll be a lot slower when the bus has to stop and the cops have to rope it off with the yellow "get the F out of here" tape because somebody was stabbed on the bus. I don't think that bus is going to be fast when they're processing the crime scene that they're going to have to process on these free buses when they become rolling homeless shelters. You idiot. You dunce. You dummy.
Everyone loves when I talk about our good friend Steven Singer. Hey, it's Anthony Cumia here. I've been telling you about Steven, the I Hate Steven Singer guy, for decades. If you haven't heard yet, Steven Singer Jewelers was named one of America's leading jewelers. There are almost 18,000 jewelers in America, and less than 50 jewelers have received this wonderful honor. Just another reason why other jewelers hate him. They hate Steven Singer. Steven's a jeweler you can trust. He has the best guarantees, the best warranties, and all at the perfect price 365 days a year. Steven always has the best value on real diamond jewelry. No phony sales, no fake discounts or pricing games, no nonsense ever. Just easy and fun. That's why he's considered one of the most trusted jewelers in America. No one does diamonds better. Experience the difference at Steven Singer Jewelers. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com.